If you have not yet subscribed, you should. Did you just hear?
And that is what you'll get. You'll get a cat coming to your house. If you haven't subscribed, they will attack you. It is a tremendously scary feline. I'm just.
I think that's the opening to the replay. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well,
As he was saying it, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Welcome to another zany episode of Nerdy West Coast Swing, where the anchors are out of this world and the points don't matter. We are here to train your eyes so you can learn faster and dance better. I'm Cassie Winter.
I'm Alicia Marshall. If you are wondering who are we to be analyzing these pros, Cassie and I both have about 21 and 23 years of experience in training in both solo and partner dancing. And tonight we have a repeat guest host with us, Christopher Dumond.
hello. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back.
We're very excited to have you back.
Yes. Our topic for this evening is Westie leaders who also follow. But the idea is regardless of gender, it's people who lead dominantly and then also follow on the side. Tonight, we are going to be analyzing at least 2 videos, if not 3, depending on how the time goes. First of all, Chris, when did you start also following? How did that story go?
So I started following almost immediately in West Coast. I think I was probably about a year or 2 in. I can't really remember exactly, but I just started, following because that's sort of what the studio just preached. So I was at, the 5678, which is now the dance center, that was run by Benji and Buddy and Lori and Lacey and all of them. And they were always big advocates and still are of a well-rounded all-around dancer. And so they're like, if you follow, you should learn to lead. If you lead, you should learn to follow, and all of that. And I think there was one time where someone had to stand in who usually follows on one of the team routines and be a lead if I'm not messing up my timelines or anything like that. But yeah, so it's always been a very big thing as far as studios to learn how to follow, at the very least be competent at it, so that way you can understand what the opposite role is doing and all of that.
Right.
That's so cool. I didn't know that that's something that they emphasized at that studio. So that's really good to know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessarily something that's particularly emphasized around Portland.
No. If anyone talks to me, yes, or Phoenix, yes, but
yeah, I think that one of the things that usually makes it happen is if there's a really, really big what am I trying to say? Big difference between the amount of leaders and the amount of followers. There we go. That's the sentence I wanted. But yeah, there's a big difference. And if it's close enough, then I don't think it's as advertised or as promoted. But I still would love to see maybe a once a month class where for that 45 minutes or hour, however, depending on where you are, that you just swap roles for that class. Now I understand that there's beginners that maybe only take that weekly class, and that's going to be a lot. So I don't know. It's all of knowing your local community and all of that.
So I love that idea of having one class a month where people swap roles. I know it's pretty common, at least when I was still teaching at Uptown Dance Studio, which is Leilani Nakagawa's studio. It was really common for people to take the beginner month as their dominant role and then either take that class again in the opposite role or move on. But a lot of people would do both roles in Portland. That's been getting a lot more popular. And I don't think it's necessarily because the teachers are advocating for it, but the student base is just making it happen on their own, which, as someone who was the only person dancing both roles in Portland for the longest time, it's just so incredible to see.
Yeah, it's really awesome seeing that, where it's just kind of it happens naturally where it just sort of is gravitating towards that. And there's like been more contests where there's, you know, switching roles in between. Like I did that at Liberty, I believe, where they had just a switch role. So basically, like for the first song, one of the people was following, one of the other person was leading, and then for the second song they switched, and then for the third song you had to switch as many times back and forth between the roles. And I thought that that was a super cool format of how to do it, of just kind of like, okay, we understand that we want to do kind of like the switch role thing. And they ended up having it where they did one song, second song, and then third song, which I thought was interesting because I never really seen that kind of where you were able to do both within the same contest, and then also have the fun aspect of like trying to move in and out of following and leading, and that whole pattern, like,
Yeah.
it opens up a lot of things, which is super cool.
Mhm. There's something so particularly amazing about dancing with another dancer who does both roles a lot, because you can do so many more unique things from that combination of connections and the subtlety of like, what's the follow connection, what's the leader connection. Switching is so much fun. What do you say? I'm just curious because I have my answer for this question, but a lot of people will come up to me and say, I want to learn the other role, but basically they don't know enough of their current role to switch over. So what's your response if you ever hear someone ask that?
Just do it. Here's the honest truth. Okay, you will never know everything, so might as well start learning something that you want to learn. Plain and simple. Like I still will not know everything about leading until I am no longer on this planet. Like I will still be learning. I will still, like, the dance will be evolving, and that's the big thing too. It's like we're not dancing a dance that is sort of like, this is the way, and that's it. It's like, this is a dance that is constantly changing, constantly moving. And if you don't feel comfortable in your dominant role, like you're still going to be working towards that, and you may not still be feeling comfortable, you know, a year, maybe 2 years time until you're comfortable. And I think that you should just pick it up and go at your own pace. It's very similar to how I feel, you know, whenever you're learning within, like, say, independent study, which is actually what I did in high school, where like you kind of learned at your own pace, and you were able to take things at your own pace. Like, make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself. That would be my biggest thing. It's like, take it one bite at a time. Don't try and stuff the whole hamburger in your face. It's lack of a better analogy, but basically just know, you know yourself, and you're learning about your dance abilities, and just try your best to learn these things. And I would say just go for it.
Awesome. I 100% agree, because it might cross your wires a little extra when you're first starting out, but once you're over that hump, you will learn both roles so much faster because you were informed by the other role.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
magical. So we had a couple of comments. Jody said he's just starting to teach, teaching 2 leads who are personal friends, and teach each pattern as both lead and follow. That is excellent.
Awesome.
I often preface, and I'd be curious to know your thoughts on this, Chris. When I'm teaching leaders for the very first time, I give them the context of like, this is what you're trying to get the follow to do. And I actually just show them what the follow is supposed to be doing. And then I help them like logically reverse engineer, like, what could you do mechanically to make this happen? So by the time I'm actually teaching them the connection and the patterned footwork, they have context and logic behind why their part functions that way.
Right. I approach how I teach basics depending on the motivation of the person taking the class. So, most of the time, like when I was doing a weekly class at Martin Parker Studio with Travzer for almost 2 years, I think. And then I did it for a little bit solo as well, is you know, for some classes it was okay, they just want to get here, they want to have fun, and they want to be moving and just know how to just kind of go through the motions.
Mhm.
So for them, I would just kind of do the run of the mill. Here's your footwork. You're gonna guide them past this way. I'll still use the same, you know, vocabulary that I would any other place, but I would try my best to make it as appealing and as fun as possible, because that's the main thing that got me into this dance. And then for like the later class, when it was a little bit more advanced and I knew the people there and I knew how committed they were as dancers and what they wanted to do, it's not that I didn't want to make it fun, but it's also, it's like, okay, now I can dive a little bit more into the functioning and what we're supposed to be doing here and all of this stuff. And there was definitely a mix between like the two sort of mindsets of people, where it's like there's the people that are just here just for the, you know, just for this dance, they do it every week and this is their fun time kind of thing. And then there's of course other people that come here and then they do like the conventions, and they compete and, you know, and all of that stuff. So I always try my best to try and toe the line as much as I can. I mean, ideally I would just talk to them not about feet at all for like the first 3 months.
Oh,
You know,
his
like
dreams could come true.
like because it's such a weird connection and it's all based around weight transfers and, you know, figuring out things. And I think that if we were able to start the basis there, we would definitely get a lot more patterns from that, because you can get leaders that are stepping, you know, back with their right foot instead of, you know, back with their left foot. And we would be able to have such different ways of being able to mix and match our feet than we do now, because you're just trained on slot movements and we're working within 6 and 8 counts, and the feet don't really matter, kind of like the points don't matter and whose line is it anyway, right? Like it's just it's kind of just there just as a thing, but the main thing that makes this dance work is the connection between the two people, not necessarily the feet, even though there is the basic structure.
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of the things that knowing both leading and following, it frees you of leader left, follower right. And you're just which direction am I going and which foot is free? Becomes much more natural to transition.
Yeah. There's actually one thing that I want to just touch on, which I find super fun. Like I do this as a class to like just mess with people. And no, it's really great. I've done it a few times and it's really, really fun. And it gets people thinking, which is basically I just go through all of the basic patterns. So when I mean all of the basic patterns, I mean your left side pass, which I call like a left side pass, and an underarm turn, which I call an underarm turn, not a right side pass. There's a whole history behind that.
Oh yeah,
definitely back that up. But that's not the point of this. So I do like left side pass, underarm turn, sugar tuck, regular tuck, or as what we call it now, more of like a passing touch, a passing tuck, which is the OG. And then like a whip. But basically I go through all of these patterns that are super basic, and then I give them different combinations with their feet. So I would say like, okay, we're doing the regular walk, walk, triple, triple. And we do that. And we go through the entire sequence. And then it's like, okay, let's just do walks. And everyone's like, oh, okay, this is pretty easy. And I was like, now just do triples. And people are like, so like, and you can do, of course, like I do it where you go backwards. So you have it where you do triples first and then walk, walk at the end. Like you can literally do anything under the sun. And it's a really fun way to just kind of free up and make your body move a little bit differently, but try your best to have your feet not necessarily affect the connection, even though it might just a little bit. I mean, it's going to be different feet, so slightly different, of course, but that's something that I really enjoy is on the feet topic that is really fun to play with.
Is there anything you want to share about your dance with Bryn from Orama 2018 before we share the video link?
I would say the only thing is in the video, the thing that goes flying is my phone. In fact, it is my phone. I forgot I had it in my pocket because I had the towel attached to my pants. So I was like, oh, that's what the weight is. But no, it was my phone and it went flying. The only thing that I would say that I noticed that I would change, and something that you will notice too, is I'm a lot more pitched forward than I would like to be. And that's something that I've always found a difficulty with whenever I follow. It's like, I think I'm leaning back. Like, I think I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting back like the big Harley, you know, just cruising. And then all of a sudden it looks like I'm looking through a peephole at the hotel. I'm like, hello, is this a sugar push? Like I think that that's something that I would really like to change, and something that you'll definitely notice in the dance as well.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. As a tall follow, I understand that, because like it only takes like 2 degrees to get that peephole effect when you're a taller person. I'm dropping the link in the chat. It should in theory take you about 11 to 11 and a half minutes into the video, where you'll get to Bryn and Chris's spotlight. Go ahead and give that one spotlight a watch and then come back and we'll get to analyzing. So I think this is a new piece of branding since last you were here, Chris.
Yes.
But I now do this thing where I go to the screen share.
Oh yes, the Wayne's World thing. And they just go across the screen.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you sense movement?
I sense movement.
Sweet. That's not always a guarantee. Zoom can be very special about that. So just like last time, Chris, if there's anything in particular you want us to pause on or go back on to analyze, just let us know.
Absolutely. I have to say this beginning moment was very interesting because, like, honestly, I don't follow much other than, you know, at Jack and Jillorama, to be honest. And just kind of trying to go along with, you know, whatever Bryn was doing with the walking forward. Even that, I'm like, all right, focus. You are not leading this. You are not leading this. All I am doing is I'm following, and that is it. That is it. I watch her feet. Nothing else. Just watch her feet.
There's a special kind of horror when you lead enough that when you're following, if for any reason your leader puts your right hand on their left shoulder blade, your brain just short circuits. It's just like, wait, I'm following. I had the hardest time not taking over for the longest time.
It's funny because I feel like in every dance that there is a lead that's following, you know, and that's not something that they typically do. There's at least one moment where they're like blank and they're like, oh wait, no, I can't follow this.
Yep.
Sarah said there are a few steals I do specifically when leading people who mostly lead because they will inevitably take over just by getting into that familiar position.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, that tuck was bad. Okay, so let me tell you why. All right. So one is it is a like push and pull tuck, but look, watch what my left hand does. I pull myself through. So like we hit it, and then instead of just having the rebound happen, I pull myself through that. And that's not supposed to happen. Just
You are
as
correct.
just as a side note that you shouldn't do that. This is literally just gonna be me being like, this is how Chris shouldn't follow.
You know what? That's okay.
It's okay. Like we always try to do so much like positive analysis on this show that like we worry that like people who are watching aren't also getting the important stuff to how to like spot treat their own dancing, and so like that'll be really helpful for people to know details like that. So
I can do that.
Thank you for sharing.
I can do that about myself all day. Oh, you're too far, Chris. Look at that shoulder and that neck. Fantastic. Okay. So if you pause it right there, the thing that I'm talking about is the fact that my right shoulder is out of its, not necessarily out of its socket, but I'm not holding it. And there's a big difference between just holding your shoulder in place and having a little bit of mobility in it than it being completely out. So that way you actually lose your frame. And also my neck is slightly forward. And there's a few angles that you can probably see it better throughout this, because it's a struggle that I have throughout all of my dancing, regardless of lead and follow. But that's just something that, especially following, I always feel like I have to try and extend away super, super far. And that's holding that shoulder in place. And by holding, I'm trying to use more of like softer things describing it, because it's not super rigid. I'm not holding my shoulder in place, and it's not like a lockdown, right? I'm not like it's not moving anywhere. Like that's not what I'm thinking. I'm literally just thinking like, okay, I need to make sure that it is there, it is solid, and I can still move within it. But whenever there's connection, I am still safe, right? I mean, I trust Bryn, of course, but I'm saying in general speaking, right? Like if you have someone that's a little bit stronger, if you have nothing left, you're toast. So those are two things that I would change right there.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about earlier in our pre-party shenanigans that I see a lot when leaders go to following, is when they turn the hand over so the palm is facing down. That tends to roll up into the upper arm. So the upper arm is also pronating just a little bit, this one, and that's what can bring that shoulder forward. It's the pronation of the upper arm. So if you're able to like dissociate the upper arm from the forearm and the hand, that can help keep the shoulder back appropriately as a follow.
Yeah.
Yay, drawing of the day.
Yeah, so my 3 is way too far back. So this is my 1, my 2's meh, and then my 3 is like, wow. Whereas like with I would have probably preferred to have it where when I stepped on my 2, I would just step and replace at that point. It's like right there, if I stayed there, because my upper body stays there, but my lower body moves out because of my steps, which it happens to have it where I pitch forward significantly.
Yep.
I think I want to mention that I think that that's something that I also see like newer follows, no matter, what they're, if they know leading already, whatnot. Newer follows tend to do that where they take giant steps and then the upper body just doesn't go with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of leaning that's happening because of it.
And that's my whole thing too, is like not just on this movement, but the whole dialogue about pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's people that like to pitch forward, there's people that like to pitch back, there's people that don't like to pitch at all, there's people that use pitches like a thing, and I'm like, okay, here's the deal. My whole thing is just move everything. If you move everything in whatever position you're at, you get the message across, basically, right? I don't necessarily recommend like pitching back because that is just weird and it's not as useful, I would say, whereas like pitching forward is a little bit more of getting into like that old school kind of bluesy styling, like aesthetically.
Yeah.
So that's where you can get into the danger zone of having your hips only move and not having your hips move out and have your shoulders go with it. So this is an example of basically my shoulders stayed, my hips went out because I took too far of a distance. And ideally, no matter if I was pitched forward or pitched back or upright, the ideal thing would be to have my weight over my feet or slightly beyond my feet in whatever position I wanted to be in. So that way you could feel that connection.
So whatever pitch you start in is the one you stay in, basically. Moving as one piece.
As long as you move in one piece, you're able to communicate with your partner, and this is regardless of lead or follow. Like if I lead and I just stick my bum out just because I wanted to pitch forward, like you haven't moved the thing that's attached to your upper body.
Yep.
You have to, like, even if I go to have it where I swing my hips back, I still have to take everything.
Mm-hmm.
So.
On a separate note, I also wanted to mention that, a lot of leads that start to follow are taller, and that does create some more issues, which is what we talked about when we had our tall follow panel.
Yes, it was an amazing episode.
But I wanted to point that out because in this particular video, that's not really an issue because you and Bryn are kind of the same height. So.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention that.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I'm not going to lie. It definitely helps the fact that we are basically the same height. I know that I'm in flats and she's in, I think, 2-inch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like we're basically even because I think she's like 5'9" or 5'10", I think.
Yeah, 5'10", I think.
Yeah.
We measured ourselves in bananas for the tall follow panel because it was Phoenix's idea.
In bananas.
In
Bundles or single bananas?
Single bananas lined end to end.
Gotcha.
There was a chart that Phoenix shared with us in the group chat beforehand.
That's fantastic.
It was a good day.
That's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, she's I actually think she's an inch taller than me because like I'm 5'11". So with those heels, she's actually taller than me. So this is perfect. Mm-hmm. And it's always really nice having that because then I feel like I can have I would say the majority of followers experience, because that's usually how it is. It's usually the leader is a little bit taller and the follower is a little bit shorter, regardless of gender. And I think that this is like being able to kind of like not have to duck down for a tuck turn, not have to duck down for an underarm and really be able to focus a little bit more. Like that was super fun. And I really enjoyed this dance for that. It was like one less thing having to worry about.
Yeah. So did you initiate this body roll? Because that's what it looks like. And then Bryn followed you.
Yeah, I think like she ended up pushing there, and I can't remember what it was in the music, but instead of just like continuing to walk back, I just ended up doing like a little bit of a body roll and a little bit of a body roll. And yeah, I think I initiated it just because I was like, I just didn't want to continue to walk backwards. I wanted to do something, but not take away anything. So that's my biggest thing. Like I always try my best to, is like, I know that, you know, once you become more of an experienced follower, which I don't consider myself an experienced follower by any means. But I just try, like, I'm like, okay, just don't interfere. Like I can add, this is what I would consider, like I'm adding, right? But I'm not interfering. I'm not saying like we're going this way and completely changing direction. The rule of thumb I always stick to is don't mess with direction or rotation. If you continue along with that and continue along with those inspirations, you're good. Because it's like left side pass, I can't make it a sugar push. Like that's a no-no. That one was a little bit better as far as the tuck is concerned. Like it definitely still was more of a so there's two different ways to do a tuck, and I think we've gone away from the traditional way, which like how it's conceived, because from how it was told to me is Wayne Bott came up with it. And what he did is, you know, an inside roll, which is basically left side pass with an inside rotation. He started doing it as a joke of like, oh, I'm going to do an inside roll, psych, and then do the other way.
I like
that's how that's the story of how I found out about the creation of the tuck was that. And so with that, right, is the inside rotation causes compression here, which then you use that compression to then have it shoot through. So where now we're getting into more of a you know, going away from each other, getting that, you know, tension to then bring the follower through. And you know, there's times and places for both. And like I think if you use one or the other as your basic, you're not wrong either way. It's just, I think that, you know, especially as, you know, this dance progresses, I think that if we're able to at least know how to do both, because you can use, like, you use the compression one to maybe get a double turn out of the tuck, whereas if you use the, like, the more tension away from each other, you won't, you'll just start forcing a double spin if you want that type of pattern. But yeah, I feel like the go-to, and it has been for a little bit, has been the more of a pull, like that sort of situation.
Yeah, agreed.
But that was a little bit better. I didn't pull myself through that time. A little groove out section. Stank face. Look at it. Get it. Yeah. And then there's that shoulder. That's a good angle for that shoulder, actually. Right there. Yeah. And then also like my hunched back of, you know, the vulture-ness, where I have my neck forward. It's a real issue. It's a real issue. And if you have the same issue, it's tough, man. Because like it feels so comfortable. It feels so comfortable. And then when you actually stand up straight and you actually like are back, it feels like you're falling over, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Like seriously.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's another jab at myself. It's good stuff.
I love that you can see the head go forward, like as you're moving forward.
It's part of your pulse at this point.
I do pulse with my head. I do it a lot. I'm more of a backwards pulser. I don't know. Like there's people that go forward, like rock out, right? And then there's people that like groove backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's find out which one you are after the break. Right.
The Westy personality test.
Yeah. Okay. So can we go back to where I duck?
Yes.
Because this is something that I noticed, which is when when Bryn does this lead and I see that it's already going up to my shoulder and I start going through, is I dip more at the waist than at the rib cage. So I'm dipping more down and forward, whereas on those, I would definitely want to do more of a side situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes it where it's less of a swoop too. And it makes it a little bit more just like a like an alteration of a Chenet turn, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically a half turn. So you do a half turn on each foot and you alternate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So for this, in order to basically not disrupt my balance, what I should have done, which I didn't do here, is that more side rib cage situation and not hinging forward in my hips.
Yeah.
And that way I could have been a lot more on balance and still, and Bryn would have been able to be closer to me. So that way she could be more in range for us to recover instead of, because I'm pretty sure she wanted to catch dance position after, but because I dipped down, we had to revert to the hand. So it's just hinging at the hips, it really closes off the options, whereas if you do the rib cage, it doesn't as much.
Yeah. And then the other thing that helps a lot, just for anyone who's following this kind of pattern, is waiting to duck until the last possible second. If you think you're about to die, you've waited long enough.
Correct.
Because what I see a little bit is you are kind of ducking under before she has even made contact enough with your shoulder to lead that.
Right.
And that will make it harder for her to give you a correct axis with that connected hand. And it's the same with whoever's leading it. But waiting till the last second. This is something that I was helping train our local JT swing team students on, because there are quite a few ducks in the newer routine for this year. And I'm like, no, really, keep waiting, keep waiting, keep waiting. You're not scared yet, keep waiting. But it makes a huge difference. And then as a follow, you're spending less time in the duck, and that makes you more stable. The more time you're in the duck, the more likely you are to fall over.
Absolutely. Because it's a weird, it's a weird position to spin in.
Why do we do it to ourselves? Why? Because
it looks cool.
Accurate.
Yeah.
That's it. It looks really cool. And even the multiple duck turns, people are literally just have their chin tucked into their chest to the point where they have so many chins around their neck. And they do that, but when it goes really, really fast, it looks really, really dope.
Yeah. There's actually, we covered Thibaut and Nicole's showcase routine last week, and the opening of the routine, they have an example of that. So if you want to go back to last week's episode, those of you watching the replay, I will put a link in a card above. Whatever.
Oh yeah. Nicole has been put through the ringer when it comes to duck turns.
A little bit.
I mean, I think every single routine that I've seen her do or have done with her has had a duck turn sequence of some sort of obscene difficulty.
It's like part of her brand at this point.
Yeah. I'm like, when you're I think when she was 13, we did something that Jordan called clonchtastic spins, which she literally, we did this crazy turn where it was in one call is called Disappear, and we were in all cream. But basically, I like was cranking her as hard as I could, and she was like in this weird contorted like flamingo position, and I'm cranking her around. This is my mic, but I'm like cranking her around to the point where like I'm not cranking her with her hand either. It's like I'm using her elbow in the crooks of her elbow, and she just like, and then she's supposed to come out of it just like doing a walk triple step. And like we purposely had it where like I actually ended up holding her body, because like it's like it ended up being where like her eyes were like, because like you can't spot, like that's the thing. It's like on duck turns, on these turns that I'm talking about, you cannot spot.
Nope.
So you wake up and it's like you're in Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole.
It's very true. Trying to figure out where you're at.
Oh,
It's crazy.
all right. Is this the moment? Yes. All right.
Here's the phone. Get ready for it. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. Houston, we have liftoff. And this is a great time to say that I'm sponsored by OtterBox. I just wanted to let you all know that if you type in the code Chris, no, I'm just totally kidding. That would be great, wouldn't it? But
that'd be great.
No.
Someday. Maybe someday.
Honestly, that's gonna inevitably have to be the future of West Coast. Like, if we want this dance to grow, we got to seek out sponsorships. You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh man.
But
I love Ben's face. It's just so good.
yeah. You know that a dance is really good once Ben jumps out of his seat.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Story time. Alicia and I were dancing late night at the last Swingtacular, and Ben was on a mission. Like, he was in his blazer, he had a clipboard, something, but it was like a cartoon where he suddenly stopped like a board and ricocheted, and his eyes just like bugged out watching us dance. He just stood there like 5 paces off, just staring at us dance for like 30 counts, and then just about faced and went on with his day.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we were like, "Did that just happen?"
That's such a Ben thing. He is such a loving human being that he will just like randomly just like compliment you when he's passing by. It is, I love that guy.
I adore Ben. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
So apparently this is the dance of me just slowly becoming a bird. Like, I already started going full vulture, and then now I've got the pigeon walk going. It's so obviously this is for comedic effect.
Yes.
This is not a technique that I will be teaching in my next workshop. So just flamingo or ostrich. It's called a flostrich. It's a mix of the two. It's a mix of the two.
Related to the Kevin from Up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we had a few comments that I've just been ignoring. Sorry.
Okay.
So Aaron said, OtterBox next week. Hey, Chris. Jody said, the majestic power of those hips, though. And then Aaron said, flamingo or ostrich. The dude with the head tilted.
Oh,
Yep.
Ryan.
Mhm.
It's like he's posing for an advertisement.
Yeah, he's like, "What's up?"
It's great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, something that I find myself doing that is not so good is the moment I feel connection, I go.
Mhm.
And that's something that's really, really hard to not do because like that 1 and 2 is so large. I've completely done the entire slot in 2 steps. Like I always feel like 1 is like you're like still loading everything up and then explodes more on a 2 per se.
Mhm.
So that way you're able to sit in that pocket a little bit more. And there's multiple analogies that I've heard. The best one I've heard of is like you know, the one that Benji usually uses, which is like the peephole one. And you have to step away and then be able to open the door kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I'm definitely looking through the peephole because I literally just like book it the moment I like feel something. And that's something that I definitely would not recommend doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something very common that happens when leader dominant Westies go to follow. And I feel like part of it comes from because as a leader, you've entrained your muscles to be slightly ahead of the rhythm because you're leading movement. Whereas when you're a follow, you need to be slightly behind the rhythm because you're following movement, and then it
Right.
equalizes out, and you're both on time. But this is like a very common symptom of following being your second role.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just taken too big of steps. Like that triple, like if I had halved the amount that I moved, it would have been way better. I can't remember. Oh yeah, she does the. Oh, you see that I screwed up. Wait, well, go back to my face. Wait, watch. I do the Kyle face. It's right there. I'm like, ah!
That is exactly the Kyle face. That's amazing.
And that's the thing. It's like you'll see it very, very quickly in Kyle's dancing, and it
Yes.
can be just like even when it's like has everything dialed in, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. We've done a lot of episodes on him, and we've noticed it.
Yeah.
So I think that I thought that she was like wanting me to do like the duck under thing and like we like groove out and like do that sort of situation.
Mhm.
And then I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And she's like, well, all right, cool. Then you're going this way. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's do that then. But the moment that I realized full on Kyle face. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And then again, took a too big of a step back.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. Way too far back. I'm totally split weight, which is not a good thing.
Yeah. Your contra body's great though.
Jody said, Bryn is so stoic though, you would never know.
Right?
Oh yeah. It's like, this is exactly what I planned. Which is exactly what you should do, by the way.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, anytime something goes wrong, You should literally just be like, that's exactly what was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what's super funny is like, I would say maybe not as much as people say it is, but like there's a lot of moments that people are like, that was sick. And it was like, I tripped.
Yep.
Yep.
It's like the oldest joke in the book, but it's so true. Like
It really
so many
is.
times where there's a
Mhm.
mistake or
Yep.
something like that, it creates a like awesome moment
Yep.
of some
Mhm.
sort, just because it's
Oh.
like, we gotta do it, we gotta stick the landing. Another Kyle face. There we
The
go.
face is back.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
It's so good. Aaron said a happy little accident.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. And this is where I then also assume this roll in, roll out.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily have to go back, but on this roll in, roll out, I just assume that I'm gonna roll out instead of like stay in and go circular around, because you can notice that on the first time she rolled in, that's what she wanted to do.
Mhm.
Is yeah, right here. So when I roll in, she's already like starting to have it where we go around like that,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
I roll out of it, and I don't continue to go in the direction that she gave. And that's another common mistake that I always tell people not to do, and I did it. So I just I wanted to be the example of all things you shouldn't do in this day.
An important job.
And like you said, just pointing out all the things that you shouldn't do is something that's not really on this channel. So this is what I bring to you.
It's going to
for
be
this
a whole new
episode.
segment once a
Yeah.
quarter. Things you shouldn't do with Christopher Dumond.
I like it. We'll never run out of content.
I really love this moment right here where
So
you
do
both
I.
kind of look at each other. Like, where are we going?
Yeah. Because it's both just like, we both have this like quirky and weird vibe, when we dance. And it's
Yep.
just and just the oh, it's good. And I definitely like I enjoyed the moment, because it's just gonna have a fun good time and all of that. It's
Yeah.
like that's all it is.
Z lost it. He's just full on like, I can't anymore.
I think we're
Alright.
basically at the end of this.
Yes.
So we shall transition over to video 2 for a little bit.
So
Numero
we have a
dos.
video that Chris recommended of
Yeah.
Ben Morris and Maxime Zzaoui from Budapest 2015, or is it 16?
I think it's 15.
Yeah, I think
All
it's
right, 15. Okay, cool. Link is going in the chat now. Go ahead and give it a watch. And when you're done, we'll get to analyzing.
I want to give a little backstory of like
Go
why
for
I
it.
sort of suggested Maxime. And the whole reason is like, when I started in the community and whatnot, like he was the first male dominant lead that I knew of that followed so much, to the point where like I thought that he just followed, like
Oh,
at the
wow.
beginning. Like I just was like, oh, I know him as a follower, and he's a really good follower. And what I truly appreciate about his dancing is that his styling doesn't change between his roles. It's not like he oversells like femininity on the follower side or oversells like masculine on the leader side. It's very just right down the middle, and it's just him, and I
Yeah.
freaking love it. And I definitely compared him to like I noticed Tim Kenny in a very similar way. Like I noticed him as a follower first, and then I came to know him more as like both a lead and a follower. And like I made the comparison between the two. It's like I feel like they're very similar in the sense of like how they came how I came to know them in my eyes and through my experience in the community is very similar. Like notice Maxime as a follower for not just like a few events. It was like years that I noticed Maxime as a follower before I ever saw him as a leader, like dance as a leader. Because I was fresh on the heel the boom of it being more like Europeans were coming to the US, US was going to Europe, and like it started becoming more of a global thing. And I just, he's incredible. And I absolutely love Maxime's dancing. And that's why I suggested it, because he's fantastic.
So good. I had somehow never seen this one, and I was just so grateful that it, that it came into my life because I love it so much. All right.
Yeah.
To the screen share. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Can you sense movement?
Yep.
Excellent. I love Ben. I was so like mechanical about the beginning of it. Now we're in this way.
Joe said, I've learned so much from asking various leads if they mind if I follow. There's no way you can know how a lead really feels until you're actually following.
True.
I agree.
Yeah.
But also, depending on how you follow, they might feel differently.
It's true.
Because I can't tell you how many conversations I've had, regardless of role, regardless of what role we're talking about, where we each have incredibly different experiences of the connection of a same person.
Yeah, and like there's something to be said. Like there's something that I found is me as a leader is like, I think I said this in the previous episode too. It's like I'm a really light lead, apparently. And I found that out the hard way following other people. Because I was like, you need how much? Is this how much you need? You need this much connection? For me to do a single spin? Are you nuts? So that's not the only way. I'm exaggerating a little bit, of course, for comedic effect. But like I found it out and I found it so fascinating. And like something that that's what I found as a leader is like, when I was following, I was like just kind of really reinforcing how I am as a lead, and as far as how much connection I give is like, as a follower, I'm like, I do not like this. I do not like it. I'm like, I should do things differently or keep doing them. Like that's yeah. And so a little like to Maxime right now, is what I really like is he initiated it, but what he's doing is he's still giving Ben pressure while they're moving backwards. Before Ben completely clotheslines his kneecaps.
It's like he's having a conversation with himself, Ben. He's like, do I do it? I want to do it. Do I do it? I want to do yeah, I'm gonna do it.
You can see Maxime's face just like waiting.
He's like, is it coming? Like I set it up. I love Maxime's pose.
The clotheslining was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, it's perfect. But like something about like just Maxime in general is just how he handles space and basically like rib cage down, basically, that I always find like both in his lead and his following, like it just works.
Mhm.
And it's just something that just always just fits really, really well as far as leading or following.
Jody said trust falls 101.
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Pretty much.
trust falls.
Yeah.
The way Maxime just like sinks into this sugar bush right here. So good.
Oh yeah. And then I think the exit of the sugar push is like the perfect example of how I was talking about how he handles his lower body.
Mm-hmm.
That can I have more of that in my life, please?
I love the styling choice.
It's so good. I love doing that kind of like just one step moonwalk as I scroll away. It's so good.
Just a slight glide.
Just a slight glide, and then again, this is the anchors are out of this world portion of Nerdy West Coast Swing.
It's just so good, and like he's able to do that because the spacing is calculated so perfectly. Because if he had moonwalked too far away, there's no way that settle would have been able to happen.
Yep.
Mhm.
But because of the distance he traveled, it worked out so much better. And that's just something that I feel like it's just signature. That's just something he does. Like he knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
There are two things in particular that I'm noticing that like gives him the space to do that. Is like one, he's shaping back into his right, and he's keeping his right arm bent, and that gives him so much more rope to expand into when he finishes his rotation, among other things.
Yeah. And
we could
also,
spend an hour on this anchor.
Oh yeah, I mean also like Ben's tripling towards him already, so that already clues in that Maxime's able to have this space. Like even until the 6, like usually we always tell people, have your, foot that you're anchoring on behind the other one, right? But Ben is continuing forward and stops and has more of like a cross situation. And that's just it's two people that like know this dance and know the roles that they're doing, basically.
Yeah, very much so. Aaron said, how in the hell is he that smooth? That's a great question.
He's Maxime. Seriously.
Yes. One thing I wanted to point out is how much he goes from having more of a high center up in the chest to dropping it, and he's really settling into the hips. And that's something that isn't super frequently seen in follows that are lead dominant.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's something that I think it's just, I'm happy that things are less gendered. And I know that even though I am a young soul and a young person, that I still had the you must be manly.
Yeah.
Society must be manly, right? And like anything settling or anything having to do with hips, anything was very not talked about. Thankfully, like in the studio, like once I got to the studio that I was in, and it was talked about more, and there was definitely no like leaders do this, followers do that, and it was never just like, it's like, okay, we're doing and learning about settling in the hips today, and it's just that's it. So but it's just like I find it that some people that say maybe are not professional dancers or don't come from this very, I think we're very privileged in this community to have such progressiveness when it comes to gender and all of that when you get someone else, they might not be comfortable with it. It's like, you know, as in the dance, like our greeting is usually a hug, whereas other people are you know, used to handshakes, and they're like look at
Right.
us weird
Right.
just hugging.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think there's stuff in there, but also yeah. What difficult to have hip stretch and certain mass focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that after the dancing itself that I miss the most is the hugging right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I swear I'm gonna like hug people and cry as soon as I can do that again.
Yeah. Anyways, Jody said male bodies have a different weight distribution. It's a lot more difficult to have that hip stretch and low center of mass focus as a guy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely we're definitely more like this. So like there's a lot more on the upper side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely something that's difficult to manage. And I do feel that, like, I mean, Maxime is able to do it so swiftly and flawlessly, in my opinion, is that like it can be done. So it's like my new view on things has been now like it's not just like male bodies or female bodies or non-binary bodies or all that. It's just bodies now have different sort of centers of gravity and different this, and we all have our own little things that we have to do or are born with and all of that stuff. And like we just have to work at it, and that's something it's harder. It can be harder, and I want to train to just be able to do that settle. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
If I could, it's like training to look like Brandy when she takes a 1.
Right.
I'm like, if I could look like that on my 1, I could die happy.
And yeah, everybody, like, no matter who you are, what gender you are, what your dominant role is, there's going to be some aspect of how you are built mechanically as a human body that you're going to have to navigate as a dancer. And like, I know for me, not only do I have my height, but I'm also a larger person, but I'm also extremely knock-kneed, which makes life so hard. But most people are surprised when I point it out to them because I've learned how to hide it. So it's like, you can learn how to manage whatever genetics gave you.
Yeah. I know that I don't remember what we were working on, but we were working on something for you, and we were really trying to work around that particular aspect.
Yeah, a lot of footwork is hard for me because my knees are literally in the way.
Yeah.
It's so annoying because you know how like some dancers, the insides of the heels of their shoes get worn away because they're brushing the insides of their heels together as they walk forward. My knees do that naturally.
So how do you have knees left if they're just slowly just wearing away?
Well, I can't squat. So in your magical move where you lost your phone in the last dance, anytime I see anyone do anything like that, I'm just so sad and jealous because I cannot.
Well, you and I should have like a happy medium between the two because I'm bow-legged. So literally when I straighten my legs and I'm facing you, you can throw a basketball through there.
Yep. Yeah, my former routine partner also had the same issue. It's just so fascinating. I dream of straight knees. That's my dream. Straight knees. Anyways, back to Maxime.
Yeah, he's just what I find too is Maxime's able to just be relaxed, and it's something like just in this dance and in doing anything is that you know, the more you do it, the more comfortable you are with it, the less you have to think about it, kind of thing. So when it comes to this, like, I've known him for doing this for years and years and years, and like he looks so comfortable
Yeah.
in it. And that, I think that's something that I think a lot of people will get discouraged, you know, like if they've been doing this dance shit for as long as I have, right? And I still look like a, you know, novice beginning follower with all of the
Mhm.
dance knowledge, what have you, that I
Mhm.
have under my belt. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the thing that you have to do the role, you have to dance in the role and really experience it firsthand. And
Yeah.
that's something that he's done for a while, and you can just see that, and he's able to be a lot more comfortable and be able to emote more because of the comfort.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And yeah, and like that moment that we just saw is just like, that's a moment that we would see in a normal champs all-star
Mhm.
Jack and Jill, is like,
Mhm.
is a moment like this where we do something like this, and then the only difference is we're not used to seeing one-footed spins to the left.
Right.
But you know, like, perfectly on balance, doesn't drop the heel down and then stops it by, you know, putting the hands on the leader's side, saying
Yep.
that we're done. And this is all classic follower stuff that is done very well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love his face after.
So
It's like,
good.
yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember, I think, watching him and Virginie, I believe,
Mhm.
like a long time ago, do lots of switching. And they're
Yeah.
dancing together.
Yeah, I loved watching all of those dances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, are we coming up on the part where Maxime steals the lead? Yes.
Right here.
Yeah.
And Ben is unprepared.
Ben is like, wait.
It's like, wait, no. Like, this is what you do.
Oh man. Chris, have I ever told you my All-American Ben Morris story from like 2010?
I have not.
Okay, so he had literally just like flown the red eye from Brazil or whatever straight to Bridgetown. So he hadn't slept in well over 24 hours. And then I draw him in the All-American, and then he holds up the prelims and goes over to Jim Minty, and he's like, "Can we switch?" And like the whole room is waiting for like 3-4 minutes while Jim Minty figures it out. He's like, "Yeah, we can switch." Then Ben comes back to me. He's like, "Okay, if we make finals, we'll switch." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then of course we make finals because, you know, I drew Ben Morris, for crying out loud.
Right.
And then as the first song is playing, like the song has actively started, Ben starts playing rock, paper, scissors with me. And I'm like, okay, we tie. And then I win. And then I'm like, but what does that mean? And then he launched himself into follow position. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm leading Ben Morris in a competition. This is my life.
That's awesome. That's
And then
super awesome.
And then at the first break, I just like put him in a standard dip, and he immediately monkey barred out of it and started leading me. And I was just like, oh, I'm alive. Yeah. Anyways, it's one of my
That's
favorite
awesome.
memories.
Great.
That's so awesome. And what I love about it too is, like, even though Ben wasn't expecting it, he's just like, all right,
Yeah.
cool, let's do it.
Yep.
Make it happen. And I really like, that's something that I appreciate about a lot of the higher level dancers. And notice that I say higher level. I don't really like, are more experienced. Like,
Points don't matter.
I really don't care about points, but just the people that are experienced and really awesome at this dance are,
Mhm.
most of them are very, very open and just like having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows. And I think these two are definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, so to my point, right? Maxime is now switched to leading,
Yeah.
but he still is Maxime.
Yep.
And that's something that I so appreciate because of I would love to get to a point in this dance where the styling classes that we all see, right? Where it's lead styling and follow styling. I would love to see a mix of people that I saw, like an abundant mix of people that I saw. And I would love to see, follower dominant people come in and take a leader styling class. Because in my mind, there's other people and other teachers that feeling on this. But like in my mind, leader styling is styling that you do while leading.
Yeah.
Or in the lead, like doing the leader's footwork.
Yes.
There's nothing specific that makes this movement leader styling. It's just leaders styling that you do as a leader. And
Yes, very much.
I might be in the lower percentile of that like viewpoint, but I just like I really enjoy doing all kinds of different movement, both masculine and feminine alike, and everything in between. And I mean, heck, I wear makeup. I've worn more makeup in my routines than, I don't know, I think a lot of people. Like I'm like, yes, I want eyeshadow, I want foundation, let's do this. I want it all. I don't know how to do any of it, but can you do it for me?
It could have fooled me.
Like, yeah, like I think for Tara and I's piece, when we did it at the open the first time, Shelby Nelson did it, and she made it happen. And then for the Bury a Friend one, that I was like, I just wanted an excuse to wear makeup, to be honest. I really enjoy it. I love makeup. What I have to say, but
I think I was fantasizing about the sequel to that routine of yours and Chantel's, where your makeup continues to bleed off your faces, so it's just like the next stage of the makeup.
Yeah,
it's like dripping off your faces. I don't know.
Stage makeup can get very intense sometimes.
Yes.
yeah.
Also, Maxime's face is just great.
I know. That's why I put a frame here. He's just like, wee! And then Ben is also fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. And that so like right there, that's example of when he shifts his hips out. It's very subtle, but you notice that his shoulders go with it.
Yeah.
Very slightly, right? But it still happens, and there's still a hold there. And that's something that, like, all of the stuff that I was kind of saying before of like what you should do. I didn't really expect this to be like nah and yes kind of like videos, but
hey, it works.
It works. It works. It really does. But like that is an example of a movement where you can have it where it's that more of that old school, like hips are, shifting back, but you're taking everything with, so that way Ben then is able to lead Maxime into the next pattern.
Yeah. And then the way Maxime transitions onto that foot, delaying his weight and settling back into it, so that way he's now changed his pitch for his second step.
Yeah.
And I would also add in that just like him really dropping into the knees out of that is something that isn't frequently done when you are not used to following.
Right.
Like really allowing that to, sink in and continue naturally.
Yeah. And being able to do that while laughing that hard. Like
and that goes back to that comfiness, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like, what? I'm just dancing. It's
yep.
whatever.
Yeah, I think Maxime is the ultimate example of being a dancer versus somebody who dances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that anchor, so good. Mm.
Yeah. He's just what I appreciate. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna Google over him because I absolutely love his dancing. But it's like he's able to do so many different anchors and so many different things, both as a lead and a follow at a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
This I would like to have Maxime Powers, please.
Somebody that has
Yes.
been very well trained.
Maxime Powers.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And I feel like, you know, a lot what we always say, right? Like, you know, really well-versed dancer, you know, super trained, you know what I mean? And there's maybe people that don't know exactly what that means.
Right.
Well, it means hours upon hours upon hours, not only of practice, but also instruction and finding out different things about different dances and being able to put those into your body
Yeah.
at
Deliberate
a very
practice.
consistent pace.
Yeah.
So it's like the consistency is something that I feel is missed. And like that comes with practicing it and making sure that consistency is there and all of that. And just like, it's basically staring at yourself in the mirror and matching and understanding how it feels, and then so that way when the mirror is not there, you can then replicate that same feeling and know how it looks.
Yeah.
And also be able to identify the feeling when it's wrong, so you know when your body's like, oh, I need to fix that.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
I think a great indicator of somebody who has been really well trained and knows a lot about their dancing and just about how they themselves move is if you see them get put into something that they weren't expecting, or that is not a very frequently done position, movement, whatever, like it still looks like they're dancing through it.
Right.
It doesn't look like, because there's some times where people will train to be able to do specific things, so like this specific anchor, I want it to look this way, but once you get put into something that you maybe weren't expecting, whatever, something different, it becomes like, oh, I am now not dancing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not die.
Set in commercial break.
Yeah.
It becomes a very different look.
Yeah, I agree completely. That is absolutely the thing. It's like you can, when you can spot the dancer just because of how they walk.
Yep.
It's kind of in that same vein. It's like dance has now become so ingrained that it just is just there naturally.
Yep. That is just who they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up to where we're at in this
It's okay. This is the part where more this is the part where more switching happens. So Maxime with glee steals the lead right here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And then Ben takes it back, but then Maxime's like, no, I get it back too. It's a really quick back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that transition there was so great, because Ben was like, I'm gonna take it now. And Maxime's like, nope, still mine. Oh, that turn.
He's just, yeah.
It's so nicely done.
It's nice to look at.
So pretty.
I don't need to say anything. It's so nice to look at. So nice.
Yeah.
I know. And he's leading while he's doing it, like criminy.
Yeah. And I think this is where Ben ends up taking it back here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh no, he dies. That's right.
Oh
It's,
yeah.
yeah, it says something about like dying or death
Yep.
or something
Yeah.
on the floor, and he just
Mhm.
literally dies. That's a Chris move. It's a Chris move. He just missed the pop-up afterwards.
and the phone flying.
There was legitimately there was a time where 3 weekends in a row I fell on the floor on
Oh
purpose.
man.
So I then told myself for the rest of the year, can't do that. You can't. You just can't do it. Cannot make it.
Balance.
Can't do it. I think the best one was when with Yenny at Monterey, and it was the shotgun bang,
Yeah. Mhm.
and people legitimately thought that I hurt myself. And that's when I ended up talking about like how to fall or something like that without getting hurt, and how I learned it from skateboarders.
It is a skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically you just ragdoll.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so that way you don't get hurt, but it sounds and looks really painful.
Yeah.
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 But anyways, that's a whole nother thing.
Fire on the Mountain is one of like my favorite songs to dance to, but I'm like, oh no, does this person want to fall to the ground when it's that one lyric? Because I'm not doing that with you.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, the shaping.
It's really nice because something that I really appreciate is how rigid everything is, and how Ben is able to control the speed with just the hands through that. So even though it's a interesting and new shape that maybe, we aren't used to seeing or used to feeling,
Yep.
he's able to keep it where that hand, when Ben is moving it, it moves the shape that Maxime is creating. And that's something that is a really, really nice tool to have in your toolbox, is be able to have that rigidness, but not have it where it's to the point of, too soft or too rigid kind of thing.
I just noticed the handkerchief. When did Ben grab that out of his pocket?
While he was spinning Maxime.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah.
This is definitely a moment where he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go with this and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up well. So.
Maxine Smolder.
I love that they go back to basic anchor.
And something that I really enjoy about Maxime as well is he is very much in a space of like, I've not necessarily posting, but kind of like I found my spot, and allows for the time for the leader to move away. And I think that's something that is just a hard thing in general as a follower, is to kind of have that patience of like, no, I just finished my styling and this is where I'm settling. you know, because you can get into those points where it becomes this like, oh, I thought I was gonna, oh, you were, oh, you're,
Yep.
you know, kind of thing.
Yep.
But just having it where you can, you know, have that patience, and that's something that I think he utilizes a lot, and really allows for time for the viewer to see the styling, see all of those things within his dance that that could have been, you know, blurred because of unwanted or unneeded movement.
Yeah, very much so. And I think that, you know, that makes the dance so much better in terms of communication, just in general. You know what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. That's the dance.
Oh, so good.
So good.
Such a great dance.
Yeah. Are there any questions about anything we've talked about tonight? Feel free to unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. Insert cricket sound effect. We did.
We did.
It was juicy though. That was good stuff.
Well,
yeah,
we do not have any questions. Thank you all for joining us. We had a great time. Hopefully you all enjoyed it too. We were just talking, so it was great. And I don't know.
Next week we're covering level changes because that was a request we had somewhere on the interwebs.
Khaleesi, wow, Jordan.
Did we decide? Oh yeah, we did decide. Yes.
We're talking about Khaleesi and Jordan. Anyhow.
More people with functioning knees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not fair.
Yes. Well, I mean, he has a cybernetic one, you know, because he had knee surgery, so his doesn't count. No, I'm just kidding. He had regular old knee surgery back in the day.
And if you haven't watched our previous episode with the amazing Christopher Dumond, please go watch that replay. It's another beautiful episode.
Also very fun.
It was super fun.
Thank you guys all for joining us, and we will possibly see you next week.
I think the thing is too is like I didn't realize how, what's the word, stupid people are.
That realization just gets more profound the older you get.
Yeah.
Because I'm like I can basically have half a brain and just a little bit of time management, and I will be able to get an A in this class. And I did. Like,
life is a struggle for some people.
sounds good to me, because in the middle of that dance, I forgot that I had my phone in my pants.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, and my phone flew across the entire floor. I was like, well, all right.
Yeah.
It's a singular lowering the bar. There you go. Lowers the bar of.
What do you do, Chris? Because you're a soapin every Thanksgiving.
This is the first time I've had a normal Thanksgiving in 12 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, like 2019 was like kind of back into the running of things, but 2018 I was just kind of like chilling with everybody and just watching everything, which was kind of nice. Yeah. But like when I was actually there in it, it was miserable because I was like, I wish that I had just like done it instead of taking the like break. But I guess that taking the break made me realize that I wanted to do it again, you know?
That's fair.
But like all of the dishes were actually post-apocalyptic themed. Yeah, it was good stuff. But we had Mad Max Mash, which was a mixture of potatoes and cauliflower, and we put like a bunch of different cheese on it, and then we put a cheese layering on top with some mustard. It was great. It was good stuff. And then we made a I think it was vegan. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if there was dairy in it. That's the only thing that I think that would keep it from that. But basically we made a stew that and she got this recipe online of how to make like a veggie broth sound sound beefy. Make a veggie broth taste more beef meat kind of stew like, and it hit the nail right on the head. Like it tasted exactly like beef stew without the beef. It was great. Yep, it was pretty great. And I just tried this vegan cheese from the 99-cent store, which is a very interesting sentence on its own.
It is.
That seems risky.
But it's really good shit. I'll have you know. Like I cook my Beyond Burgers like for lunch. This is like my usual go-to. So I put my Beyond Burger and then I put the vegan cheese on it and then slap another pan on top to melt it. And let me just say, because it's not cheese, it takes a hot minute for it to actually melt. But once it does, like, you can't tell the difference. That's really good. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I very much appreciated that.
Yeah. It's really good. Like my grandma's been super open to it too. I was like, all right, I'm gonna cook you and mom a completely vegetarian meal. All right. Get ready. And it was just a Beyond Burger with like a toasted bun. And like that's it. I'm like, yes, this is Gourmet Chris. What's up? And basically I did the same thing, but for theirs, like we'd added avocado and like tomato and like did the whole fixins. And my grandma was like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'd really like to eat stuff that tastes like shit, but I choose not to.
Also, separate note, but Cassie, this comment about beefy whatever reminded me of that comment that you made when we were on, I think, our meeting.
Oh no, what did I say?
Turning over the hand and like the tension in the forearm and whatever.
Oh yeah. I might share it tonight, but I do some like interesting myofascial like physical therapy stuff. And I was learning particularly how to like increase my shoulder mobility. And I learned, because this is something I see when leaders go to follow, is when they flip the hand over, their shoulder pronates. And apparently really strong forearms actually causes a chain that forces the shoulder to pronate. So you have to actually do mobility work to not make that happen. And since men in general have stronger forearms than women, I'm like, well, this might be contributing to this problem.
Sorry, when you said stronger forearms, my mind went somewhere. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We've gotten more off the cuff since last you were with us. It's okay.
But anyways, yeah, I feel the struggle with the mobility and all of that, because I've actually had to my shoulders are slightly too mobile to the point where they just go out of their socket, which is nice.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
So
we both have that problem as well. So
yeah.
Really on that.
I feel like that's just like I don't know how that's a common thing in dancers, but it's like
basically,
you know what?
parents see bendy children and they're like, ooh, dancers and gymnasts, go forth and be bendy.
Yeah. And then
Basically.
I decided to like, I started trying to do like Maxime shit like back in the day. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. Not realizing that he literally doesn't have a tendon in his shoulder. So like he can literally bend like that. And then I started doing it with like my shoulder out of my socket and then holding pressure with my shoulder out of my socket. Let's just say I was 15 and stupid. And things have changed since then.
Mhm.
Clearly the facial hair hasn't come in yet though. That's still coming. I don't know. 26, still waiting to grow up on the face side of things.
Oh, that story reminds me. So my dad has been a basketball player like his whole life. And when he was playing college basketball, he dislocated his thumb at some point and he never had it set. So now he can just like dislocate his thumb at any point. Like, okay.
Well, all right. I mean, that's a great way to get out of handcuffs.
Right. That's where my brain went. It's a very handy skill.
Super handy.
It is.
Yeah,
Disturbing.
like whenever you get kidnapped, just back. Oh, you need me to still be trapped. Okay, all right. Oh, this is gonna be great.
Oh,
I'm very excited.
Fantastic.
Right,
Shall we
I'm
let
gonna
some
go
people
ahead.
in?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let people in.
I'm going to attempt to turn on my microphone. I had forgotten to charge it, so I'm like, I don't know if it will last. So if I suddenly cut out at any given point, just tell me and I will unplug it.
That's all right. My bird's just chilling in the background. It's all good.
Welcome.
Hi.
All I walk into is Alicia cackling, and I heard something about a bird.
Yeah, it's because like my I have a light right here, so when I just go to oh man.
Yeah, this seems pretty normal for us. So.
Yep, indeed.
All right, can you hear me okay? Is my mic micing? Sweet.
Your mic is miking.
Excellent.
And you got a new mic, you said?
I've had it for a while, but I've only just now started using it with my laptop. My boyfriend got me a fancy splitter so I could have my earbuds in and connect to the microphone. Before then, I did not have this power.
We have the technology.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And it's wireless, so it's very helpful when we're like filming actual dance videos, so I'm not wired in to something.
Oh yeah. Those are always the worst. Like especially in workshops, like when you have to like do the thing where like you like stick
Down the back, yeah.
Yep, and then you do this like little like back scratchy move of just doing this.
And then when you're the sound guy, it's like you don't want to touch anything. It's like I have to help you, but
Yep. Then there's the like the choreography with it, because it inevitably gets in the way no matter how you've set it up.
Yeah, because if it's like the head one, it's either like, all right, it's too tight, so that way I'm gonna end up having a migraine, or it's too loose and it's gonna and just like fly off somewhere. There's never a middle ground. Never a middle ground.
it's always my favorite when I see people with a mic like this.
Oh yeah.
Like just way out. I'm like,
What is the point?
Yeah. It's just to add a little bit of, bass.
Room.
Yeah, a little room.
A little bit of room tone.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
Oh jeez, my cat got even longer somehow.
For context, the cat is laying down and is
Yes.
stretching out.
You guys didn't already know that?